Welcome back guys. In this video I'll be comparing the fluidity, image quality and input delay of AMD's AFMF version 2 and lossless scaling's LSFG 2.2 frame generation techniques. We'll be running some games on my Rog Ally Z1 Extreme variant of this device to test these two frame generation techniques. Both of these techniques improve the performance by adding interpolated frames. They don't rely on any game data like motion vectors. This is why some graphical artifacts can be present even when the base FPS is on the higher side, 60 or higher than that. In order to get AFMF2 working on your compatible Radeon GPU, you need to download AMD's latest technical preview GPU driver. Can be downloaded from AMD's website. This tech is absolutely free and can be enabled from Adrenaline software. LSFG on the other hand is included with a paid app called Lossless Scaling that sells on Steam Store for around $7. I'll kick things off with Cyberpunk 2077. First just run Lossless Scaling app, show you its configuration. Frame generation set to LSFG 2.2, mode set to X2. This will try to double the FPS. Extreme mode tries to triple the FPS, yes, you heard it right. But for the purpose of comparing LSFG with AFMF, I'll just stick to the X2 mode. Not using any of lossless scaling subscaling algorithms. Performance mode disabled. Clip cursor setting enabled. Sync mode set to default. Max frame latency set to 1. FPS won't be exceeding LS maximum refresh rate. Draw FPS setting enable. Capture API TXGI. Settings. Hotkey for enabling LSFG control alt and S. Start as administrator setting enabled. Minimize that. Cyberpunk's Adrenaline setting. FreeSync enable. VSync set to off unless application specifies. Radeon chill setting enable. Applied an FPS cap of 59. AFMF2 disable for the time being. I'll enable MSI Afterburner overlay. Connected my GuliKit KK3 Max gamepad to Ally via Bluetooth mode. Using a 25 watts manual profile, all three power values set at 25 watts, 900p resolution, CPU boost disable. Set the UMA buffer size to 6 GB. BIOS version 339. Radeon chill is working. Graphics settings, I'm basically using the low preset. FSR 2.1 enable using its quality preset. Motion blur disabled. Low to medium settings with the low preset. Video. Display mode set to windowed borderless, 900p resolution, VSync off. I'm standing right outside V's apartment building. Here FPS is within a range of 45 to 55. Image quality looks clean. No graphical artifacts. Input response. I'll just enable LSFG now. It's working. FPS counter. Resume the game. Okay, base FPS dropped down to around 38. Let me just move the camera in complete circles. 38 FPS. Can observe the added amount of smoothness. LSFG is definitely working. Gun is flickering. Even the crosshair is flickering. A bit difficult to observe this artifact on a small display. But the smoothing effect is definitely present. Almost hitting the GPU bottleneck. FPS with frame generation enable around 70 to 76. Input delay has increased. Nothing extreme though. See, you can definitely play the game this way. Now I'll enable AFMF2. Disable Afterburner overlay. Disable LSFG. Open Adrenaline's overlay. Enable AFMF2. Set search mode to high and performance mode to quality. With search mode set to high, frame generation won't get disabled during fast visual motion. Restart the game. Enable Adrenaline's overlay. Control Shift and O keys. Reload the same sequence. Now we are getting 90 FPS with frame generation enabled. Frame generation lag value 17 milliseconds. It's under 20 milliseconds. That's very impressive. Input delay is not an issue. Can observe the added amount of smoothness. Unfortunately, the crosshair is flickering. Minor graphical artifacts around the gun. But I'll be honest, AFMF produce less artifacts than LSFG. GPU utilization around 95%, sprinting around. LSFG's input delay was slightly higher than that of AFMF. Good performance by AFMF. Its quality mode is less demanding than LSFG's quality mode. I'll be testing the next game, Elden Ring. This game's FPS is capped at 60. I'll be loading Shadow of War 3 expansion. Adrenaline settings for the game: FreeSync enable, anti-lag setting enable, not using Radeon chill, VSync set to off unless application specifies, AFMF 2 disable for the time being. Game settings: display mode set to borderless windowed, 720p resolution. Most of the settings are set to medium, motion blur disabled. There's my character. I'm in the graveside plain area. Here FPS is around 55, not bad at all. This is the game running without any frame generation technique. No graphical artifacts. GPU load is around 75%. We have enough GPU headroom. Okay, now I'll enable AFMF 2. Open Adrenaline. Enable the toggle. AFMF 2 status active. Search mode set to high. Performance mode set to quality. Back to the game. Observe the FPS counter. Your FPS increased to around 105. This is amazing. GPU load 90%. Can observe the added amount of smoothness. AFMF 2 produces very good results in Elden Ring. Looking for some graphical artifacts. Nothing significant. Exploring the area. $90 to 100 FPS. Can definitely play the game using AFMF. Now I'll be using LSFG. Disable AFMF 2 first. Disable Adrenaline's overlay. Enable Afterburner's overlay. Press LSFG's hotkey. Okay. Again I can observe the added amount of smoothness, and I'll be very honest, LSFG's fluidity is slightly better than that of AFMF. Barely any graphical artifacts. Base FPS is around 47 to 50 FPS with frame generation close to 100, roughly the same performance. 105, yeah. Input delay is not an issue. See, character's head is not flickering when I move the camera in complete circles. LSFG produces amazing results in Elden Ring. You can even use it with the game's online mode. Okay, there is a strip of garbled textures around the bottom edge of the display. It's very difficult to observe it right here. In this game I would recommend LSFG, but you can still use AFMF 2. Oh my god, this thing. Now I'll be testing the next game, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. I am using the medium preset. FSR 2 upscaler enable using its quality preset. Motion blur disabled. Display settings: mode set to borderless window, 900p resolution, VSync off. Adrenaline settings for the game: FreeSync enable, VSync off, anti-lag setting enable, AFMF 2 disable for the time being. There's Geralt. Here FPS is around 45. Okay, FPS counter is not working. Enable army crate overlay, minimal. Now the FPS counter is working. 45 to 48 FPS. See, Now enable AFMF on, active, search mode high, performance mode quality. Back to the game. Yeah, I can observe the added amount of smoothness. FPS increased to around 83. GPU load 98%. Good results in Witcher 3. Some minor graphical artifacts around Geralt's character model, not easy to observe. Fuzzy textures. I'll just explore the area on horseback. Frame generation does not get disabled even during fast visual motion. FPS stays around 80. Display does not scale properly and borderless full screen mode. See the background. Now I'll enable LSFG, disable AFMF, resume the game, check out the input response. AFMF had the lower latency and you can see Geralt's head is flickering aggressively. AFMF produced a better image. In terms of fluidity, LSFG is slightly better than AFMF. FPS with frame generation on 70 with AFMF, FPS was around 80. Base FPS stays around 35. I'll be testing the next game. Far Cry 5. Internal settings for the game. FreeSync enable, VSync off. Radeon chill setting enable, FPS cap 59. AFMF 2 disable for the time being. Game settings, 900p resolution, window mode borderless. All settings set to high, HD textures enable, anti-aliasing TA, motion blur disabled. We are in. The base FPS is within a range of 50 to 55. GPU load around 90%. Good performance even without using any frame generation technique. Now I'll enable AFMF 2. Disable army crate overlay. AFMF 2 active, search mode set to high, performance mode set to quality. Resume the game. Yeah, I can observe the added amount of smoothness. FPS increased to around 100. AFMF works very nicely in this game, but I can also observe some graphical artifacts around the gun. These artifacts occur when I move the camera in complete circles. They don't occur when you move the camera at a normal speed like this. Frame generation lag value 16 milliseconds. Nothing extreme. Very impressive results in Far Cry 5 produced by AFMF 2. Now I'll enable LSFG. First disable AFMF 2. Adrenaline overlay disabled as well. After one overlay enable, press LSFG's hotkey, it's working. Check out the input response. Okay, the gun is flickering aggressively with LSFG. Can observe the added amount of smoothness. Both techniques produce a very fluid experience in this game. LSFG's latency is slightly higher than that of AFMF. Nothing extreme though. I have to give the win to AFMF in this game due to a better looking image quality. Now I'll be testing the next one. 80 FPS with frame generation enabled. With AFMF, FPS was around 100. Rockstar launcher version of Red Dead Redemption 2. Adrenaline settings for the game. FreeSync enable, VSync off. Radeon chill setting enable, FPS cap set to 59. AFMF 2 disable for the time being. 900p resolution, display mode set to windowed borderless, VSync disable. Texture quality set to high. Anisotropic filtering 16 times, rest of the settings are set to medium. FSR to enable using its quality preset. API DirectX 12. This game even supports Vulkan. There's Arthur. I'm at the campsite. FPS here is around 59, hitting the GPU bottleneck. Again, good performance even without enabling any frame generation technique. Now I'll enable AFMF 2. Disable Army Crate overlay. AFMF 2 enable. Status active, search mode set to high, performance mode set to quality. Resume the game. FPS increased to around 100, frame generation lag value 15 milliseconds. Yeah, I can observe the added amount of smoothness, but I am also observing some fuzzy textures around Arthur's character model. FPS is consistent, stays around 100 even during fast visual motion, but the garbled textures are present. Input delay is not a problem. Frame generation lag value is less than 20 milliseconds. That's really very good. Okay, now I'll enable LSFG. Really impressed by the fluidity. Disable adrenaline overlay and enable afterburn overlay. AFMF off. Enable LSFG. Resume the game. The base FPS dropped down to around 42. FPS with frame generation enable 84. With AFMF we were getting around 100 FPS. Check out the fluidity. Again, LSFG's fluidity is slightly better than that of AFMF. Some fuzzy textures are present around Arthur's character model. Hat is flickering. Bit difficult to observe this issue on LS small display. Artifacts don't appear when I move the camera at a normal speed like this. They show up when I move the camera in a complete circle during fast visual motion. Almost a tie in this game between these two techniques. Input delay is not an issue. I think AFMF had a slightly lower input delay than LSFG. Okay, time to conclude the video. Both of these frame generation techniques did a good job of improving the game's performance by adding interpolated frames. On Rog Ally, LSFG is more demanding on the GPU than AFMF. LSFG's fluidity was slightly better than that of AFMF, but AFMF produced less graphical artifacts, a better looking image. Its latency was also slightly lower than that of LSFG. Both of these frame generation techniques produce a very consistent FPS. Frame generation effect does not get disabled even during fast visual motion. This was a big problem with AFMF version 1. I really hope AFMF 2 gets officially added to Rog Ally via its GPU driver update in the near future. So that's it with the video guys. I hope you found it useful. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.